Hello, everybody. Oh, I look like a mess. Oh, Caden heard me. He's over there saying hi. Oh, you want to come say hi? You're such a nut. That's that funny face. You guys do. Mwah. What? You need a drink? Need a drink? He loves it when he comes on here with me. I hope he's not too distracting because he just thinks it's great. Hi, hi. Oh, don't wreck my paper trail. Let's close this book. Close my notebook. And there's Kaylissa. Here we are. uh, so we are on to chapter 16. Oh, yeah, before I get started, do our theme. And by the way, like the video, right? I know everybody knows the YouTube things you're supposed to do, and I haven't been saying it, but if you like it, it actually, if I get views and likes, then it'll actually put me in an algorithm where other people might subscribe, and that would actually help me out. So if you're watching and you enjoy it, give me a like. A like is free. Also, what did you have for dinner, or what are you going to have for dinner, or what did you have for dinner yesterday? I put a roast in the crock pot last night, so we had a big old roast today. It was so tender and yummy.
This is my Jack's plushie.
Okay, this is showing off her plushie. Oh, well, help yourself. So we had roast, and then I did the baked potatoes, but I also did one yam, baked yams. So we had a mashed yam and a mashed potato, and then steamed broccoli and cauliflower, and I made a really yummy cheese sauce that we put over the yams and the veggies, and it was so good. And then 5-cup salad for dessert. So that was yum. And then showing off some of my stuff that I make. Oh, you getting down? All right. See ya. Such a little mess maker. I do some of these cute little plaque signs that you can, hang on your wall or pop up on your nightstand. They're really cute. I love this one because I love yellow. It's so cheerful and has the little real flowers in it. So cute, right? Anyway, I like this one. In fact, I might just set it in my window so I can look at it till it sells. And then, I had a little mushroom container to show off, but Caden hauled off with it. Okay, so can you see the lid to that little mushroom container?
Which mushroom container?
There's the container. Oh, the lid's right here. Hand it to you. Thank you, Sunshine. I make really cute mushroom containers. So it's a little trinket, like you can put, rings, change, whatever, jewelry or earrings before you go to bed, And then they have a cute lid. So cute, right? I have a ton of different colors. They're really, really popular. This one was just on top, so I grabbed it, but I have a ton of other ones, and I'll show some of them off. But yeah, these are things I make. They are for sale in my store. There's a link on my homepage, whatever that is. You go click on it, and it has a link to my store if you're interested. So I did read 2 chapters yesterday. I think it was 14 and 15, right? So we're going on to 16. Yep, chapter 16. So that was really interesting. So the new governor appointed by the king came in, and they have a charter that they had an agreement in the Massachusetts. Connecticut. Now I'm just not remembering which state they're in. It wasn't a state at the time. It was a colony. But they had a charter, and the new governor's going to come in and just make new rules and kind of do whatever he wants. And they have this charter that was an agreement for the king, and they want to protect it. So in the middle of their meeting with this new governor that came in appointed by the king, all the lights went off, and somebody took it. And then William is actually, don't be so noisy. Shh. Sorry, children are noisy. My children are noisy. William he used to kind of be more of a royalist, and then he kind of went over onto Uncle Matthew's side, and now he's more of a what they call Tories. He wants freedom, right? So now Kit's kind of mad because she's a royalist. She loves the king. She doesn't think the colony should be free, and so she's not very happy that William is being a. They don't. She didn't call them Tories in this book. I can't remember what they call them, but the people who want the freedom. Yeah, you can. Anyway, so that happened, and then also, the whole sad thing with Mercy and John Holbrook. They're in love with each other, and whoops, now he's engaged to Judith, which is so sad. The dumb thing is Judith pays really good attention to William all the time, and Kit kind of doesn't. He talks and talks, and her mind wanders off to other stuff, and Judith hears everything he's saying, and she's keeping track of every little thing that happens on his house. It's like Judith should obviously be with William, and Mercy should obviously be with John. So I hope that's how it ends up, because obviously that's how it should be. But we'll see next chapter. Do you need me to open that for you? I got you. Don't let him fall. Don't fall off the bed, baby. There you go. Will you hand it to me? Okay. Chapter 16. Hey, do you need Mama? Will you just carry him? Sorry. Can you, baby? It's very informal at our house. Babies crying, children playing in the background. Oh, he's coming after you, sis. He wants a cracker. Never mind. There he goes. Wants a cracker. Okay. Chapter 16. There will be no Thanksgiving this week, announced Matthew when he came home at noontime the next day. It seems we have no authority here in Connecticut. Oh, Connecticut. That's what state it is. It's not a state at the time. It's a colony. Oh, it seems we have no authority here in Connecticut to declare our own holidays. His Excellency, the new governor, will declare Thanksgiving when it pleases him. Oh dear, exclaimed Judith in disappointment. We had planned such a lovely day, and Mercy has pies baked already. We can be thankful among ourselves that we have an abundance to eat and the good health to enjoy it. But there won't be any games, and the train band won't drill? There is no occasion to celebrate, he reminded her. Better for the young people to remember that idleness breeds mischief. A disgraceful thing happened last night. Never since we have lived in Wethersfield has there been such a disturbance on All Hallows Eve, or Halloween as we call it now. I thought I heard something. I thought I heard some shouting, said Rachel. It reminded me of home. In England, the boys used to light bonfires and march through the streets. Such things are best not mentioned, her husband silenced her. All Saints' Day is a Papist feast, but our own young people had no share in this, thank goodness. 'Twas a rowdy band of rivermen from a trading ship. Did they do any damage? Little enough, since we have a constable who is quick to his duty. The three ringleaders are cooling their heels now in his shed, and on lecture day they will sit for all to see in the town stocks. What did they do, Father? Inquired Judith coolly. Across the table, her eyes met Kit's deliberately. That's kind of loud. Just a sec. Let me shut the door. Okay. They came roistering into town just before midnight. I am sorry to tell you, Catherine, that your friend William Ashby seems to have been the only one singled out for their insulting prank. Kit dared not ask the question, but her uncle went on. They illuminated his house, he told them gravely. You mean they burned it down? Gasped Rachel. No, they well might have. They put lanterns in the window frames that are waiting for the new panes. Lanterns made out of pumpkin heads with candles inside and unholy faces cut in the sides to show the light. Jack-o'-lanterns! Exclaimed Judith. Kit choked suddenly on a giggle that rose unexpectedly from nowhere. Instantly she was horrified at herself, and in mortified confusion kept her eyes on the wooden trencher before her. Her uncle shot a suspicious glare at the two girls. Whatever they are called, they are the devil's invention. 'Twas an outrageous piece of blasphemy. I trust they will be dealt with severely. Thursday, lecture day, the day of public punishment, was 2 days away. Somehow, Kit knew she would have to endure the waiting, though actually she already knew what she would see. It did no good to remind herself that there were dozens of trading ships on the river, and that the Dolphin might well be out to sea by now. Kit had no doubt at all who one at least of the culprit in the stocks would be, and neither, by the smug set of her pretty lips, had Judith. By Thursday noon, Kit gave up trying to keep her mind on her work. No matter how she shrank from the ordeal before her, she knew she could not stay away. The one thing she could not face was the thought of taking that walk to the meeting house in the presence of Judith. An hour before meeting time, when all the family seemed occupied, she slipped out of the house and set out along High Street with a hard little lump of dread crowding her ribs. At first, she could barely glimpse the stocks. I don't know if you know what stocks are. I'm guessing most people do, but for those who don't, um, back in the day when they wanted to punish someone for something like this, they had stocks, and it was basically just like a wood plank, and then it just had a like a little hole cut out for your neck and your hands, and they'd put your head down or face up into the stock with your hands, and then they had another one on top that went down so you couldn't pull your head out. It was stuck in a hole, and your hands were stuck so you couldn't pull them out. And then you'd sit there for a day or however many hours, and people could hit you and spit on you and throw rocks at you and rotten food or anything, and you had to sit there on display while people abused you and punished you. That's what the stocks were. So, in case you didn't know, kind of a horrible thing. But I mean,
Walker, can you take this?
yeah, it's fine. I kind of think I know that a lot of times they were used for pretty harmless things. But I also kind of think that if there were punishments that we had these days, not stocks necessarily, but something where people would be, if they did bad things, they got ridiculed or humiliated or punished, or people would be like, hello, why did you do that thing? I think crime wouldn't be quite so rampant as it is now. It's like people just, it's fine, and everybody has a right to privacy, even if you did terrible things. And not really. I mean, if you're a criminal, you should probably be shamed. And I don't know, maybe that's a very hot take, but I don't believe in going easy on crime. At first, she could barely glimpse the stocks. They were surrounded by the usual crowd of idlers and passers-by. It was no place for a girl alone, but she had to see. Clenching her fist tight, she moved closer. Yes, they were all three dolphin men, and none of them showed the slightest sign of repentance. One of the three sat with his head down in sullen disgust. Nat and the red-headed seaman who had painted the dolphin's figurehead that morning on the river were cheerfully exchanging insults with a cluster of young bound boys who had stopped to enjoy the spectacle, the two culprits holding their own in an unchastened manner that delighted the onlookers. In spite of their ready answers, the sport had been one-sided, as Kit could see by the daubs of mud that stained the rough boards of the stocks. Even as she watched, an apple core sailed through the air and bounced off Nat's forehead. A cheer went up at such marksmanship, but Nat's comment drew an even louder roar of approval. "Watch your tongue, you scoundrel!" shouted a farmer, catching a sight of Kit's flustered face. "There's a lady present." Nat twisted his head the inch or so that the boards allowed him and stared at her without the slightest recognition. Her presence had spoiled the sport. The servant boys drifted away, and presently the three prisoners sat for a moment neglected. Impelled by some urge, half pity and half annoyance, Kit came forward from the shelter of the trees.
Mom, he wants you.
He can come in. It's just I don't want the door open because the TV's loud and they can hear it. Nat watched her come without a flicker in his blue eyes. Now that she stood directly in front of him, she could see the bruise that the careless missile had left. Suddenly, she felt the tears rising. Kit, for heaven's sake, Nat hissed in an exasperated whisper. Get away from this place. Quick. Deliberately, Kit stepped closer. Hi, baby. You think you're coming up? Oh, you need a tissue. Oh, and a drink. Okay. You can have a drink. Oh, I've got to go wipe his nose. I'll be right back. We're very distracted today. You're so silly. What a funny baby. Oh, let's get you a tissue. Let's get you a tissue. Okay, that's better. That's better, huh, baby? Yeah. This funny face he makes every time he sees himself. Yes, you can have another drink. Here you go. You're silly. You're a silly baby. Deliberately, Kit stepped closer. She marked the way the tight boards were chafing the hard brown wrists. This is horrible, Nat, she burst out. I can't bear to see you in this hateful thing. I'm quite comfortable, thank you, he assured her. Don't waste your pity on me. 'Tis as roomy as many a ship's berth I've slept in. Isn't there anything I can do? Are you hungry? You can stop trying to be a lady of mercy. 'Twas well worth it. I'd gladly sit here another 5 hours for a sight of Sir William's face that evening. He was impossible. With the flounced petticoat, she turned away. It did not help to note that her foolish concerns had been witnessed by a whole group of early lecture-goers. This would certainly give them something to wag their tongues over. Don't bite me. Head held high, she forced herself to keep a ladylike pace. At the door of the meeting house, she stopped to read the posted notice. That for stealing pumpkins from a field and for kindling a fire in a dwelling, they three shall be seated in the stocks from 1 hour before the lecture till 1 hour after. That they shall pay a fine of 40 shillings each, and they be forbidden hereafter on certainty of 30 lashes at the whipping post to enter the boundaries of the township of Witherspoon. Kit's courage failed her altogether. She could not go into that. She simply could not go into that meeting house. You're so noisy. She could not bear to sit there and hear that sentence read aloud. She could not face the family or the whispering and staring that would turn her own family pew into a pillory. Gathering her skirts about her, she hurried across the green, skirted the square in a wide arc, and fled home to her uncle's house. It was the first time since she had come to Wethersfield in the spring that she had dared to miss a Thursday lecture. The family had already left for the meeting house, and Mercy, busy at her spinning, did not hear her return. Kit crept up the stairs, but the empty bedchamber was not the refuge she needed. She had to talk to someone. Mercy would listen with gentleness, of course, but how could she ever explain to Mercy about Nat? There was only one person who would understand. It is a good chance to take Hannah the piece of cloth anyway, Kit reasoned. At least this one afternoon I can be very sure of not meeting any seafaring friends there. She stole down the stairs again and took a winding path through the back meadows to Blackbird Pond. Don't fret, child, Hannah said philosophically, when Kit had poured out the story. The stocks aren't so dreadful. I've been in them myself. But Nat is banished from Wethersfield. He won't be able to leave the ship or to come to see you any more. Well, now, That is a shame, agreed Hannah, unperturbed. In spite of her woe, Kit had to smile. Why hadn't she remembered that ever since he was 8 years old, Nat had been finding his way to Blackbird Pond through devious meadow routes? Hannah knew that no threats could keep Nat from coming again. As always, here in this house, things seemed to look so much less desperate. This William Ashby, Hannah said thoughtfully. I never heard Nat mention him. He had come to call the night that Nat walked home with me. Nat met him there. Does thee mean he had come to call on thee? Yes. Why hadn't she ever told Hannah about William? Is the young man courting thee, Kit? Kit looked down at her hands. I guess you'd call it that. Hannah. What? Come here, baby. You're so silly. You're so silly. You need another drink? We are very distracted today. Many interruptions to the story. Sorry. That's okay. That's part of the fun, huh? Part of the fun. Cutest baby, huh? Yeah. You're so cute. Hannah's shrewd little eyes studied the girl's downcast face. Does thee plan to marry him? She asked gently. I don't know. They all expect me to. Does thee love him? Don't push. No, he was just going to push my whole computer right off the table. He's a helper. He is a handful. This baby is a handful. Yeah, you're busy. You're a handful. Yeah. Does thee love him? How can I tell, Hannah? He is good and he's fond of me. Besides, Kit's voice was pleading, if I don't marry him, how shall I ever escape from my... Ow. How can I ever escape from my uncle's house? Bless thee, child, said Hannah softly. Perhaps 'tis the answer, but remember, thee has never escaped. Thee has never escaped at all, if love is not there. Presently, Kit opened the door to Prudence's timid knock and was comforted by the pleasure that rushed into the child's face. Prudence had further news of the culprits. Nat won't be able to come see you, she told Hannah. They marched the 3 of them straight to the landing and put them on the dolphin. But Nat waved to me as he went by. You know Nat? Kit asked the child, surprised. Of course I know him. He comes to see Hannah. Last time he listened to me read. Why should it disturb her to think of Nat sharing the reading lessons, Kit wondered, trying to be reasonable. How many of his visits had she missed? She was a little jealous to think of them all here cozily together while she was hard at work in the cornfield. Annoyed at herself, she picked up the sail-wrapped bundle. He sent you a present, though, she told Hannah brightly. Hannah ruefully surveyed the length of gray woolen. Now isn't that kind of Nat, she exclaimed. So soft and tight. Hey, be sweet. Be sweet. Oh my goodness. Oh, you're so busy. He is a handful. Hannah ruefully surveyed the length of gray woolen. Now isn't that kind of Nat, she exclaimed, so soft and tight woven, much too fine for the likes of me. But thee knows, the truth is these old eyes of mine can't even see to thread a needle. Then Prudence and I will make you a dress, promised Kit blithely. Can you sew truly? Demanded Prudence, overwhelmed at still another accomplishment. Of course I can sew. I've never made a woolen dress, but I learned to embroider before I was your age. Shh. I'll borrow a pattern and scissors from Mercy, and you'll see. Excuse me. While the reading lessons began, Kit spread the cloth on the floor, turning it this way and that, as she had seen Mercy do, trying to plan how to use the length to the best advantage. The idea of cutting and sewing a dress by herself was novel and exciting. Will you really let me sew some stitches? Asked Prudence, watching her with shining eyes. Really and truly, promised Kit, smiling back at her. What fun it would be to make something warm and pretty for Prudence, she thought with longing. Did they ever give the child anything decent to wear? Those skimpy sleeves did not even cover her elbows, and the scratchy linsey-woolsey cloth kept her trying to turn the page with one hand, kept the thin shoulders constantly twitching. She knew she could never give Prudence even the smallest gift. The lessons were risky enough. Looking at the child, Kit felt again a fleeting uneasiness. What misery would be the child's lot if these meetings were discovered? The miracle that had been taking place before their eyes had made it all too easy to forget the danger. For Prudence was an entirely different child from the woebegone, shrinking creature who had stood in the roadway outside the school. The tight little bud that was the real Prudence had steadily opened its petals in the sunshine of Kit's friendship and Hannah's gentle affection. What are you doing? Her mind was quick and eager. She had memorized the horn book in a few days' time and sped through the primer. After that, she had plunged headlong into the only other reading matter available, Hannah's tattered Bible. Kit had chosen the Psalms to begin with, and slowly, syllable by syllable, Prudence was spelling out the lines while Hannah sat listening, her own lips often moving with the child's in the lines she remembered and could no longer read. There were days on end, of course, when Kit could not manage to keep the tryst, but Hannah and Prudence were fast friends now, and she knew that the reading went companionably on. There were more frequent days when Prudence could not escape her mother's sharp eye, and other days when her small face was so pinched and exhausted that Kit wondered painfully if the child had been punished for tasks she had left unfinished. Always before she had been able to shake off her doubts, but today she had too sharp a lesson in the retribution of this Puritan colony. For the first time she felt a twinge of real fear. "Hannah," she said softly over Prudence's head, "I am afraid to go on like this. What would happen if they found us out? Nat is strong enough to take it, but Prudence—" "Yes," agreed Hannah quietly. "I know that soon they would begin to consider that." "What should I do, Hannah?" "Has thee looked for an answer?" Prudence looked up. "You won't say I can't come, Kit," she pleaded. "I don't care what they do to me. I can stand anything if only you'll let me come." "Of course you can come," said Kit, stooping to give the child a reassuring hug. "We'll find an answer somehow. Look now, I brought you a present too." From her pocket she drew 3 precious objects that had required some ingenuity to gather: a partly used copybook from her trunk, a small bottle of ink, and a quill pen. "'Tis high time you learned to write," she said. "Oh, Kit! Now? This very minute?" "This very minute. Watch me carefully." Opening to a clean page, she carefully wrote the child's name on the first line, Prudence. Now see if you could copy that. The small hand trembled so that the first eager stroke sent a great blot of ink sprawling across the page. Prudence raised stricken eyes. "Oh, Kit, I've spoiled your lovely book." "Oh, 'tis no matter. You should see the great blots I used to make." Now, very carefully. Finally, it was completely written. Prudence, in quite respectable letters, without a single blot. Prudence was awestruck at her own handiwork. Hannah came to peer closely and admire. "Let me do it again," pleaded the child. "This time I won't make the R so wiggly." She grasped the quill in tense, careful fingers, and her lips silently formed each letter as she traced the lines. Over her bent head. "Oh, you're just a handful. Yes, you are." What's the matter? What's the matter? That's so sad. Did you book? Need a drink? No. I kind of want to finish the chapter, baby. Mama. Look. You have to be happy for me. This for Minna. That's for Minna. Mama found this one. Oh, he's so sad. You're so sad. Look, everybody loves you, but nobody wants to listen to you cry when we're trying to read. We don't want to listen to you cry. Over her bent head, Kit and Hannah exchanged an affectionate smile. For a time, they both sat listening to the small sounds in the house, the scratching of the pen, the rustling and snapping of the fire, and the slow purr of the yellow cat. How peaceful it is, thought Kit, lazily stretching her toes nearer to the blaze. Why is it that even the fire in Hannah's heart seems to have a special glow, like the sunshine on the day... Sorry, he is so noisy. Like the sunshine on the day that I sat on the new thatch with Nat. If only, right now, on that bench across the hearth. But what ridiculous daydream was this? Kit shook herself upright. "'Tis too dark to work any more," she said. Prudence laid down the quill with a long sigh, and plopping down on the hearth, dragged the limp, drowsy cat into her arms. "I wish I could live here with you and Pussy," she said wistfully, laying her thin cheek against the soft golden fur. "I wish they could too, child," said Hannah gently. "Remember, Nat said it was like the psalm I was reading that day," the child said dreamily. "Peace be within thy walls." "Well," Kit interrupted too briskly, "there won't be any peace anywhere if we don't get home in a hurry." She flung open the cottage door, and a bit of milkweed whisked in on a rush of November wind, spilling shreds of spidery white down. Prudence ran back to fling her arms about Hannah. Kit would remember many times the picture she carried with her along the darkening road. Was there some premonition, she would wonder, that made that moment so poignant, some foreknowledge that this was the last afternoon the three would ever spend together in the small cottage? She would remember, too, that all the way home she tried without success to find the answer that Hannah promised could always be found in her own heart. Rachel greeted her reproachfully. "You're very late, Kit. It was wrong of you to stay away from lecture. Your uncle was very displeased, and John Holbrook walked back with us to say goodbye to you and Mercy." "Goodbye? Where is John going?" Rachel looked across the room at Judith, who was setting the table near the fire. But Judith, her eyes red from weeping, said nothing. "What has happened, Aunt Rachel?" asked Kit, bewildered. "John has enlisted in the militia. There's a detachment going out from Hartford to aid some of the towns north of Hadley in Massachusetts against the Indian attacks, and John volunteered to go with them." "To fight?" Kit was too astonished to be tactful. "Why, John is the last person I'd think to be a soldier." "'Tis a doctor they needed, and John has learned a good deal of medicine this year." "But why now? Right in the middle of his studies?" "I think it was his way of breaking with Dr. Bulkeley," explained Rachel. "He has tried so hard, poor boy, to reconcile Gersham's ideas with his own bringing up. Now it seems the doctor is going to publish a treatise in favor of Governor Andros and the new government, and John just couldn't stomach it any longer. We all think it is to his credit." "I don't," spoke up Judith. "I think it is nothing but stubbornness." "That's not fair, Judith." Mercy spoke from the hearth. She looked a little more pale and tired than usual. "I think you should be proud of him." "Well, I'm not," answered Judith. "What difference does it make what Dr. Bulkeley writes? Now John won't get a church of his own, and he can never get married or build a house." Her tears broke out afresh. "He'll come back," Rachel reminded her. "The trip was only to be for a few weeks. He'll be gone for Christmas. If he cared anything about me, he wouldn't have gone at all." "For shame, Judith," said her mother. "You had better dry those tears before your father comes in." Mercy spoke thoughtfully. "Try to understand, Judith," she said slowly. "Sometimes it isn't that a man doesn't care. Sometimes he just has to prove something to himself. I don't think John wanted to go away. I think somehow he had to." Judith had shut her mind to any consolation. "I don't know what you're talking about," she snapped. "All I know is we were perfectly happy, and now he has spoiled everything." Well, that's the end of that chapter. Oh, Kaden, you are a handful. You are so busy. So busy. Oh my goodness. I picked everything up and it was all clean. You should see the mess that he has made around my desk. He dumped out a whole container full of paper clips. Everything. It's a mess. I have a whole mess to clean up. But we're going to go. We're going to go. Say bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. You're such a nut. Yeah, he's a handful. He's a busy baby. Bye-bye. 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 Bye. We'll see you next time. Silly baby.